new wave, and that was a kind of a movement to it. Let's have a new wave of British heavy metal. So all of these bands who up till then had just been like basically struggling pub rock bands all became co-opted.
Picture this, a packed London arena, lights swirling like a storm as Bruce Dickinson strides to the mic. Tonight isn't an Iron Maiden concert. It's the moment Bruce unburdens his soul, exposing Ozzy Osbourne's darkest secrets and leaving fans reeling. Bright white lights fall on Bruce Dickinson, but he doesn't move. He stares out into the crowd, his face stiff with anger. His fists are clenched, his voice is calm, but there's fire behind it. He starts revealing what many suspected but no one dared to say. He accuses Ozzy of betrayal, of lies told backstage, of shows ruined, promises made and broken. He says Ozzy hurt people, used them, and then walked away when things got hard. Other musicians paid the price while Ozzy kept smiling in front of the cameras. The problems between them started in the early 1980s. They toured together, but it was never friendly. Their egos were too big, their styles too different. Ozzy once skipped an important show without a word. Bruce's team had to clean up the mess. From that day, Bruce never trusted him again. Things got worse. Ozzy laughed at Bruce in interviews, made fun of the way he sang. Bruce pushed back, calling Ozzy fake. Their rivalry turned cold and sharp. They passed each other backstage without speaking. Their hatred grew in silence. Now, on stage, Bruce lets it all out. No quotes, no performance, just truth. The crowd doesn't cheer. They stare, stunned. Somewhere far away, Ozzy hears about it, and for the first time in years, he doesn't laugh. Think of two giants thrown together by fate. Bruce and Ozzy shared festival stages in the early 80s, trading cheers and gasping for breath in mosh pits of adoration. But on cold Scottish mornings and humid festival green rooms, small slights festered into open wounds. In 1983, Ozzy skipped a crucial sound check in Glasgow, leaving Bruce's crew scrambling under rainy skies. That moment fractured trust and ignited a feud that simmered beneath every hand gesture and curt nod. The worst night of Ozzy Osbourne's life didn't happen on stage, in jail, or in court. It happened in total silence, alone, in a hotel room in St. Louis, 1986. He had locked himself in for 3 days, surrounded by empty bottles, half-eaten takeout, and crushed pill capsules. The TV played on mute, showing static snow, while Ozzy sat shirtless on the carpet, his back against the bathroom door, a loaded revolver in his lap. He had scrawled a goodbye letter to Sharon on hotel stationery. The words were barely legible, ink smeared with tears and trembling hands.
I can clearly remember that. So my heroes up to the age of 10 or 11 were test pilots and astronauts. You know, I followed, Apollo 13,
He had planned to end it all that night. No more tours, no more screaming fans, no more demons clawing through his skin. But as he raised the gun to his temple, something snapped. A tiny photograph of his daughter Kelly had slipped out of his wallet and landed beside the barrel. Her smile, crooked and innocent, stared back at him like a lighthouse through fog. Ozzy collapsed in sobs, deep, guttural animal howls. He dropped the gun, crawled to the bed, and passed out in a pile of his own grief. That moment became legend among those close to him, not because he survived, but because for the first time Ozzy admitted he wanted to die. That was the moment he hit the bottom, and from that depth there were only two paths: stay buried or start climbing. You've probably heard the surface stories, cockatoo casualties, TV sets hurled from hotel balconies. But those headlines were just the smoke. The fire raged deep inside him. By 1984, addiction wasn't just a problem, it was his god. Heroin, cocaine, pills, whiskey, it all coursed through him in lethal symphony. His body became a battlefield, a bloated monument to self-destruction. Imagine him curled up in a shadow-drenched Los Angeles flat, the carpet damp with spilled Jack Daniels, syringes glinting like fangs in the moonlight. The air reeked of sweat, vomit, and despair. Ozzy would wake up gasping, not knowing whether he'd collapsed yesterday or 3 days ago. His screams, sometimes from hallucinations, sometimes from sheer dread, bounced off peeling walls and sent neighbors dialing the police. One night, convinced the CIA had bugged his apartment, he tore apart every lamp and radio, even digging into drywall with bleeding fingers. Another night, he tried to climb out a window, certain the floor was on fire. Near-fatal overdoses blurred the line between waking and dream until reality itself became an enemy. Friends stopped visiting. Sharon fled to her sisters more than once, clutching the kids and weeping. Ozzy's mind fractured. Every camera flash became a sniper's scope, every knock a SWAT team. His paranoia ruled him, whispering lies in his ear louder than any crowd ever had. He wasn't just lost, he was vanishing, a legend crumbling behind locked doors, while the world cheered the myth and ignored the man slowly disappearing inside it. When the crowd's roar faded, Ozzy's home became a theater of destruction. By night, their mansion echoed with the sounds of broken glass and broken hearts. Sharon's voice, raw with fury, pierced the silence like a siren, while Ozzy, slurring and staggering, screamed apologies he barely understood. Doors were torn off hinges. Framed family photos shattered like their marriage, their smiling faces fractured on cold marble floors. Midnight police calls became routine. Security guards looked away as plates sailed through the air. Neighbors heard the chaos through garden hedges. One evening, Jack was found curled under a table, hands over his ears as his parents raged above him. Sharon, steely and scorched, "High betrayal," lawyered up. She accused Ozzy of gaslighting, drunken threats, and vanishing for days on drug-fueled binges. Ozzy, half resentful and half broken, accused Sharon of treating him like a product, a leather-clad paycheck and eyeliner. What began as passion had curdled into war, their love now a legal bloodbath. Custody battles over Kelly and Jack exploded across tabloids like a slow-motion car crash. Headlines shrieked betrayal. Paparazzi camped at the gates, catching glimpses of teary goodbyes and court summonses clutched in trembling hands. Inside courtrooms, once private wounds were aired with surgical precision. Their wedding vows, once whispered over candlelight, were now weaponized in affidavits. Behind the gilded gates of rock royalty, the Osbourne home stood as a mausoleum of love, echoing not with music, but with screams, slamming doors, and the hollow silence of two people who had once promised forever, and now couldn't survive a minute in the same room. Just as fans caught their breath, the headlines detonated like grenades. In 1981, Ozzy's joyride on an ATV turned into a nightmare. The crash shattered his collarbone, fractured ribs, and left his face smeared with blood. But the true horror wasn't just the physical pain, it was the camera flashes erupting like gunfire around the ambulance. Paparazzi clung to fences, shouting for statements as paramedics wheeled him away, barely conscious. As he convalesced, the downward spiral accelerated. DUI arrests in California dragged him into grimy holding cells, reeking of sweat and despair. One mugshot, with Ozzy's eyes half closed and mouth ajar, went viral before the term existed, pinned to dorm walls and record stores like a trophy of chaos. At Heathrow, he screamed at airport security, flung a cup at a steward, and had to be dragged away by 3 officers. Tourists filmed the entire scene. Children cried in the background as their parents explained, "That's Ozzy Osbourne." Managers wept behind tinted glass, pleading with him to stay indoors. Record execs drafted emergency PR plans like field medics in a war zone, but Ozzy wouldn't be tamed. Each new outburst added another brick to the mythos, a rock god immune to consequence, too wild for the world to cage. He wasn't just self-destructing, he was becoming folklore, one scandal at a time. Despite the carnage, Ozzy's greatest triumph awaited. In 1980, Blizzard of Oz wasn't just an album, it was an exorcism. Picture him, pale, skeletal, trembling with withdrawals, hunched over a battered piano in a smoky London studio. His voice cracked, not from weakness, but from the weight of demons being expelled. The studio reeked of burnt coffee, stale cigarettes, and redemption. The songs weren't just written, they were torn from him. I Don't Know bled confusion and existential dread. Goodbye to Romance whispered regret, a letter to the bandmates he'd left behind. And when Crazy Train hit the airwaves, it didn't just scream of survival, it roared of defiance. Ozzy wasn't just back, He was reborn with Randy Rhoads at his side, the young guitar prodigy who lit the path through Ozzy's darkness. The album detonated across charts worldwide, shocking critics who had written him off as a drug-addled has-been. Tour buses rolled again, sold-out arenas beckoned. Fans saw not just the Prince of Darkness, but a man who had faced the abyss and come out swinging. Blizzard of Oz didn't just revive a career, it redefined what it meant to fall and rise again. As Bruce steps back, silence clamps onto the arena like cement. A few stunned fans remain frozen in their seats, eyes wide, hands clutching concert tees like prayer cloths. Others stagger into the night, their voices blending into a confused murmur, questions tumbling from their lips like falling ash. Will Ozzy respond? Can he confront the demons, Bruce, just dragged into the spotlight? Camera lights flicker against a sky thick with London fog, casting Bruce's rigid silhouette into myth. Social media explodes, headlines scream, old bandmates weigh in, and rock journalists scramble for scraps of insight, but none of them truly know what's happening behind closed doors. Somewhere, behind iron gates and blackout curtains, Ozzy Osbourne watches in silence. His eyes, glassy yet burning, scan the footage. The words echo louder than any Sabbath riff. A trembling hand reaches for a tumbler, not of whiskey but of water. Sharon sits across from him, her face a mask of shock and fury. For the Prince of Darkness, the battle no longer involves stages or sold-out arenas. It's internal now, the fight for dignity, the reckoning with choices once hidden behind power chords and pyrotechnics. This isn't a scandal, it's a crossroads, and whether Ozzy walks into the fire or away from it will define not just his legacy, but his soul.